Hey everyone, Dr. Mark Supernaut here. Just wanted to do a recap of our Cancer Killers Makeover Battle Ready this last weekend. And we were going to try to record it. We had some technical difficulties. So I'm going to actually run through this with you guys and just kind of help you guys understand how do you build your immune system so stinking strong? How do you get your body working the way that God designed it? What can you do? And what are the things that you need to avoid along the way? So what I love about this and why I'm going to do this for you guys, I want you guys to understand what cancer is and what the common treatments are. Why is cancer increasing at the rates that it is? But how do you build your immune system, and what things can you do to slow this down for you and your family? And so I'm going to help you guys understand, and this is how we always do it with our classes, is help you understand how the body is able to work at the highest level that it possibly can. So the reason why we built this battle ready makeover that we have is my best friend about 6 years ago passed away from cancer. Dr. Charles Majors, amazing guy. The guy was diagnosed at the age of 40 years old, actually diagnosed with multiple myeloma. He had 4 brain tumors in his head, and they gave him less than 3 really months to live, maybe even less, 3 weeks actually. And they said we need to wheel him next door, and we need to start doing cancer treatments on him right away. And we didn't like the answers they were giving. We didn't like the solutions they were giving because they weren't looking at what the root cause was. They were just trying to cover up his symptoms. And so we actually went on a journey. He and I went on a journey, and he went on this long journey. Ended up surviving an extra 9 years on top of what he was supposed to live. Ended up having another baby girl, and life was amazing there. And so what I want to do is take the principles that he taught us, the principles that he learned to help extend his life. So that way, hopefully many of us can start to make those decisions, those choices now. And so hopefully you guys don't have a squeamish stomach, but I'm going to show you guys something. I had a spider bite about 2 years ago. It was a brown recluse spider bite. So again, hopefully you guys can handle this. And there it is. And you can see the progression on the left-hand side there, the progression from it looked like an ingrown hair to eat a hole completely into my leg. And I'm showing this because I want you guys to know that even though this might make you want to throw up, the principle of your body doing the right thing at the right time for what it needs to do, even though that injury was super painful, even though that it was a long process, even though that I have a massive scar on my leg, my body was constantly doing the right thing at the right time with what it had to work with. And so didn't use any drugs, used no medications, used some Manuka honey to keep the wound clean so it didn't get infection, and just let the body actually go through its own process. And it works. And your body knows how to do that as well. But you have to learn and you have to understand how to get the body working at the highest level. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Our mission at Family Healing Chiropractic is getting people healthy and free from meds, and then keeping families healthy through holistic living, the way that God designed the body through chiropractic and max living. Our team is fully committed. We've got a team of doctors all over the country, of almost 200 offices and growing. And the big thing that we're trying to do is make sure that we have people in every single town, that you have friends, family members. Obviously, if you have friends and family members that are in Charlotte, if you're watching this, this is a great opportunity for you to be able to come into our office, always from this webinars and from the internet. If you guys come in, we typically do a $60 special for anybody that comes in, $60 to get an exam, consultation, and x-rays. I'll revisit that here in a little bit. So I want to play this for you guys.
Won't you be seated, please? Members of the Senate, members of the House, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today for the purpose of signing the Cancer Act of 1971. And I hope that in the years ahead that we may look back on this day and this action as being the most significant action taken during this administration. It could be, because when we consider what cancer does each year in the United States, we find that more people each year die of cancer in the United States than all the Americans who lost their lives in World War II. This shows us what is at stake. It tells us why I sent a message to the Congress the first of this year, which provided for a national commitment for the conquest of cancer, to attempt to find a cure. And now with the
So here's Nixon, 1971 Cancer Act. And they swore that they would eradicate, get rid of cancer. And the reality is it's worse than it's ever been. They've spent billions and billions of dollars. There's over 700 plus genetic drugs. There's constantly new chemotherapies coming out. These are all treatments for the symptoms, and none of these are about getting to the root cause of what cancer really is. And pretty fascinating is that if you go back and try to actually research this Cancer Act and the things that were bad that came out of it, things that were good out of it, almost everything that's bad that came out of this is whitewashed these days. If you guys believe in, don't believe in censorship, go to YouTube and start to look this stuff up and you get blown away. Then how about a few years ago? Here's President Obama saying that he's going to put Joe Biden in charge of this thing, and we're going to get rid of cancer.
You know, last year, Vice President Biden said that with a new moonshot, America can cure cancer. Last month, he worked with this Congress to give scientists at the National Institutes of Health the strongest resources that they've had in over a decade. Well, So tonight I'm announcing a new national effort to get it done. And because he's gone to the mat for all of us on so many issues over the past 40 years, I'm putting Joe in charge of mission control. For the loved ones we've all lost, for the families that we can still save, let's make America the country that cures cancer once and for all. What do you say, Joe? Let's make it happen.
So any guesses how we've done in the last 7 years? Excuse me, since 2016? How are we doing? Are we doing better? Are we doing worse? The numbers keep growing. It keeps going down the same pathway. And the one thing that we have to understand and realize is that, like my dear friend Chuck used to say all the time, is that if you know what something is, then you have a better chance at reversing it. And he always talked about like this: if you are trying to drive to Florida from Chicago, and you get in your car and you start driving north 4 miles or for 4 hours, and you realize you're not getting any closer to Florida, but then you spend billions and billions and billions of dollars on getting a faster car, making better roads, and putting up better signs on the roads, but yet you still keep driving in the wrong direction, you're never going to arrive where you're supposed to be. And so that's one of the big things, is that these numbers keep growing because number one, we don't understand. We don't know what it is, and we don't understand what causes cancer. And number two, we're going the wrong way. The cure is not covering up symptoms. We can't even cure the common cold. Like, to cure the cold, it's still always about the symptoms. And so what I'm going to teach you today is how do you get to the core root of what causes cancer, and why is it there? Why is cancer climbing? Cancer affects 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women. So this is something that's massive. And I don't know if you guys understand this, but they love using this word cancer because it scares the crap out of people. And if they use the word cancer, then what that does is that makes you want to just blindly do whatever you're supposed to do or whatever they tell you to do. And so there's too much money in the treatments. There's too much money in the chemo. There's too much money in the radiation. There's too much money in the surgeries. There's so much money in the cancer and the treatment of cancer that they're not getting any closer. They're going down a wrong pathway. And not everybody, but the big pharma and everything that you guys are aware of, the big medical industrial complex is what they're calling it these days. That medical industrial complex is massive. And so if you guys see cancer stats right now, Australia is the highest cancer rate in the world. We're number 4. 18% of cancer patients survive 20 years after diagnosis. Only 18% survive after 20 years of diagnosis. That's telling you that they're saying that we're curing cancer, we're doing better, but more it's about we're getting earlier diagnoses and lifespans increasing by a few months. But that's just because we're having earlier diagnosis in a lot of cancer cases. And so it's not that they're living longer. In fact, you see it right there, the stat: only 18% of cancer patients live to survive 20 years after their diagnosis. And of course, men pay attention because we think that we're immune to it. We always think we're immune to it, but we're men. So I'm not going to play this. I'm not going to play much of this video, but I do want you to hear the first part of this because I think it's pretty fascinating. This guy is Zach Bush, very, very wise guy. And I'll play a little bit of it so you guys can get a chance to see who he is.
Few words strike more fear in the hearts of mankind today than that of cancer. This single condition now is expected to be diagnosed in 1 in 2 males before they die and 1 in 3 women before they die in the developed world. This crisis of health that culminates in this bizarre event where a single cell within the human body loses its complete identity as a part of this greater organism and starts to usurp the relationship and the resources for life itself, such that eventually it would go on to often contribute to the death of its source, the human that it stemmed from. We are desperately in need of changing the dialogue and the understanding of cancer, not just in medical halls, but perhaps more importantly, even in our understanding as the public, as to what this condition is and how we can change the greater ecology around us and how we can engage in that ecology.
So he's constantly going into like, what is the environment that's creating the cancer that's inside of your body, and how do you actually get to the root cause? And he goes on to talk about as well, him as researcher for chemotherapies. He just couldn't do it anymore because he's like, we're going down this wrong pathway. Here's a medical doctor that used to create chemotherapies for cancers, had to get out of it. And he's on this different pathway right now that he knows that chemotherapy is not the answer. And so when you start to dive into how cancer works or what it really is, you know, the cause of cancer and all disease is when the cells become toxic, deficient, and have a decrease in function. They've got to do something. Something has to happen. And so you can see this for a healthy cell in the body. It uses oxygen for fuel. It doesn't need sugar. It needs proper nerve supply. So the communication, that innate intelligence, that communication from your brain to your body is super important with a healthy cell. And then also it's slightly alkaline pH is what the base that it's supposed to be in when it's a healthy cell. But a cancer cell is different. On that right-hand side there, the cancer cell doesn't use oxygen for fuel. It uses sugar for fuel. It loves sugar. It has inflammatory environment. It doesn't need nerve supply. In fact, if without nerve supply, it takes you down this pathway. It also has a massively acidic or highly alkaline environment. And so when you start to see this and understand the differences between these two cells, that you start to realize that the cancer cells are just 6 cells that your body is trying to, actually cancer is the body trying to do the right thing at the right time. It's trying to do what it's supposed to do with what it has. If it's overloaded with stress, it's got to do something different. It can't just keep taking on stress because then you start to risk the whole body. And so the immune system plays a massive part in this. And your immune system is your body identifying antigens and harmful toxins and foreign substances that cause disease within your body. Like white blood cells known as B lymphocytes produce antibodies to combat these invaders. And then what happens is these antibodies, these T cells, the body learns. It's amazing that the body learns how to be able to fight for itself. But if you put yourself in a sterile environment where you're putting Purell all over everything and using antibiotics and antivirals for everything, what happens is your body isn't allowed to be able to react to its stress in its environment. If you don't go lift weights with your arms are going to become flabby and weaker. Why? Because they're not being stressed. Your body has to be stressed to become stronger. The immune system needs to be stressed to become stronger. And so as a kid, when your kids have ear infections and fevers and all this kind of stuff, stop going to the medicine cabinet and stop lowering the fever. Let the body actually build its immune system. Let it learn. And the more that it learns, the faster it learns, the better and the stronger, the healthier it gets. So as I said this before, cancer is the body doing the right thing at the right time. This is what my buddy Chuck used to say all the time. He's like, body's doing the right thing at the right time. And so think about it like calluses on your hand. If you go out and rake the yard, or if you go out and dig a ditch, what happens is your hands are going to build calluses. And where we might not want calluses, if the calluses don't happen, bigger injuries are going to happen. Bigger problems are going to happen. So really the same thing with cancer cells inside the body. Once cancer is detected inside the body, it really should be more of a signal than it is the problem. The cancer cells are not the problem. Whatever is causing the cells to become toxic or disrupted from their normal natural process, that's the real issue that you have to address. And so we did a class last month on inflammation, and inflammation and cancer is really no different. Inflammation and cancer are both responses and reactions to the body doing the right thing at the right time, but it's just, we don't want it. It's not desirable by us, but we know that when it's there, it should be dealt with at the core, not dealt with at a symptomatic level. You've got to get to the deeper core of what's really going on. Again, the new hypothesis, instead of cancers being deadly, cancer is actually a survival mechanism. If you see this little plant trying to grow out from your driveway, how does that happen? That plant dries because what? That plant survives because why? Because it has this innate inborn wisdom to want to survive. No matter what, it'll push through concrete to get to sun and live. So basically, if you're listening to this, your body's constantly doing the same thing. Cancer is a natural wound healing related process. If the cause of the wound or the wound itself persists, the continuous natural process will lead to clinical mass of cancer. Basically, what happens is that if that stress keeps coming there, it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. If you keep raking or digging a ditch in the yard, those calluses are going to constantly keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger until you remove the stress, until you do something about the stress itself. Put some gloves on, right? Or don't rake the yard. That's how you get it back to where it's supposed to be, right? So really cancer is exactly the same thing, is that it's your body's response to internal degeneration, internal toxicities, internal stress. So we'll teach you 5 daily habits today. These are the things that contribute to the building of cancer. This is not all. This is not the end all be all. This is just a part of this. These are where the stressors come from. And one is the standard American diet. This is fast foods. These are things that have disrupts hormones. It disrupts your gut biome, microbiome, contributes to obesity, which it actually creates more toxicity within inside the body. And so the standard American diet is lacking in nutrients. So it doesn't even bring nutrients to the body. At the same time, it also brings fuel to cancer cells or disrupts the body, because the body has to try to deal with what it has the best it possibly can. One of the number 2 risk factor is stress. Stress is an innate response that our bodies has developed to survive, that your body's developed a survival mechanism to cope with challenging situations. Like I said, if you go lift weights, your arms are going to get bigger because it's going to be why? It's going to become stressed. Same thing with from a fight or flight standpoint. If you're constantly in fight or flight, the stress hormones released to your body are creating a stressful environment, toxic environment, and the body's got to try to do something to defend itself, to help itself. The third risk factor is a sedentary lifestyle. If you're not moving, it doesn't create the hormones that you need to build a strong immune system. And it creates more toxicities within inside the body. The body can't detox itself. Number 4 is toxic exposure itself. It's everywhere. It's in the glyphosate. It's in the Roundup. It's in the pesticides. It's in the things they're spraying all over everything. It's everywhere. Toxins are in the chemicals that they're trying to drive and shove into your arms, the vaccines that they're trying to do, the mask that they're trying to slap on your face a few years ago. Like all this stuff, these are toxicities that we're constantly exposed to on a regular basis. Plus the drugs they put in your body. These are also toxins as well. Risk factor number 5, lack of sleep. Sleep is a restorative process for the body that facilitates healing and recovery. See, the thing is that next month, December, I'm actually going to have a sleep class, because it's important for us to be able to shut down our minds. What happens is we have this innate inborn intelligence, and we also have this educated intelligence. And the educated intelligence is our ego, is our mind trying to tell us that we know what's better for our body. Well, your body knows what's better for your body. But how do you get your body understanding that? Well, when you shut down, when you go to sleep, you shut off your educated brain, and allows that innate intelligence to actually focus more energy into healing itself, which is what the crucial goal is, obviously, along the way. So if you start to think about it, like if a deer gets hit by a car, what does it do? It goes, digs a ditch and lays in it until its broken bones or its damaged tissues can heal. It won't eat because it wants to focus all of its energy on that healing process. So some of the cancer treatments that they have out there right now, you guys know them all. You've got surgery, which is going in there and they cut out the mass. The problem is if they don't get the whole mass, then what happens is you have uncontained borders. See, the mass that's inside your body is your body actually trying to protect itself. But if you cut the mass out and they make a mistake and they don't get the whole tumor, now all of a sudden you've freed and broken the barriers that the body was using to try to protect itself. It's actually doing more harm than it is good. And that tumor, that piece that needs to be cut out, if it's not impeding on the function of an organ, that typically won't cause death just from having cancer cells inside your body. Chemotherapy, the key with this, and Zach Bush goes into depth about this, the chemotherapies, they don't get to the stem cells of cancer. So it will reduce cancer cells inside your body. Chemotherapy is very strong. It actually works really well at killing cancer cells. It also works really well at killing healthy cells. It works really poorly, though, on killing stem cells of cancer. And the stem cells of cancer, think of it like a queen bee. The queen bee in a beehive, that queen bee keeps producing all the eggs for all the bees, right? Keeps creating that. If you went and sprayed that beehive and you could kill bees, awesome. But what happens is you're not able to get to the stem cell or get to the queen bee, so it continues to keep happening. One of the more simplistic ways that I've heard it explained makes simple thoughts about how the body's producing cancer cells inside the body. Radiation, high doses of energy and radiation to kill cancer cells and reduce tumor size. In more serious cancer cases, radiation is coupled with chemotherapy and surgery to help reduce tumor size. And so it comes with, of course, its side effects, just like chemotherapy, with like hair loss, nausea, changes, vision changes, diarrhea, and so many more things. Well, if these survival rates, if these things are working, why do we keep using these things, right? Or why wouldn't we keep using these things, I should say? Well, cancer survival statistics can be frustrating because I'm going to read this to you guys. This is from the Mayo Clinic. The survival rate for people with your particular cancer might be based on thousands of people. So while cancer survival rates can give us a general idea about most people in your situation, they can't give you your individual choices or chances for cure, for remission. For that reason, some people ignore cancer survival rates. Survival statistics don't take into account other medical conditions. If your health is otherwise perfect, you're likely to have a greater chance of survival than stats suggest. What's fascinating about that statement that I just read you, is that they said if your health is otherwise perfect, like, is anybody's health perfect if you have cancer? And the answer is obviously no. The rates are so deceiving, and it's about your environment. It's not about the treatments aspects of it. It's about your environment. You have to look at the real numbers, and you can find numbers to support anybody's case if you want to. Well, how prevalent is cancer in 2010? 18.7 million people received a diagnosis, and of that, 8.29 million people died. Well, in 2019, it went up to 23.6 and 10 million cancer deaths. So it's going the wrong direction. The injuries and the sickness and diseases, it's going the wrong direction with what we're doing right now. So what we want to teach you is having faith over fear. So prevention's our best treatment always. I'm not your cancer doctor. I don't treat people for cancer in my office. I don't treat people for neck pain or back pain in my office. Let me just put this disclaimer out here. What I do is we let your body function at the highest level by helping you remove the toxins and putting the right nutrients in your body, getting movement to your body, but most importantly, allowing that innate inborn intelligence to work at the highest level, which is what we're going to teach you today, how to get that working. Great bundle. Those of you that missed the class, there was a break on this bundle, and it's our Battle Ready bundle break. It's vitamin C, vitamin D3, curcumin, and Max Omega. These four are strong helpers in the body. Again, I'm not going to tell you that you take these, you don't get sick, because this is not like a medicine. These things help your body support its immune system so the body can build its own immune system along the way. So 3 keys to building an unbreakable immune system. Remember, one of my friends shared this with me recently. Her mom's going through cancer treatments, and she's doing holistic natural cancer treatments. She says, remember, the principle is still the principle. There's no shortcuts to healing. Her name is Dr. Kaylee Judge. I want you guys to understand something. There are no shortcuts to healing. You have to go through a process of healing, because the sickness and disease and the cancer got there through a process. So it's going to take a process to go back through this. So key number one, focus on cancer fighting nutrients. Talk about putting nutrient rich things. Like, what if you put water into your car? What if you put mud into your car? That car's not going to be efficient. If you're putting garbage into your body, it can't be efficient. It can't work. It can't do the things it needs to do. Got to watch out for refined oils. Refined oils, they're really cancer related. Refined oils such as like vegetable oils, PHAs, trans fats. These things all have high carcinogenic properties to it. These oils, things that you find in foods, chips, crackers, cookies, things that even a healthy food are alternatives like protein bars, protein shakes, alternative milks. You got to watch for these oils. They're in a lot of different things, even quote unquote healthy things that you might think, oh, this is healthy because it's at Whole Foods, or it's healthy because it's at Earth Fare. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's healthy. How sugar feeds cancer itself. Well, have you guys ever seen that they do this this glow test? They do this scan of you. Before they do a scan of to find out where the cancer is, they make you drink this liquid. You guys know what the major component of that liquid is? Sugar. Why? Because cancer cells love and need sugar. So when they put this sugar IV into your body and find out, okay, as the sugar goes through your body, it's going to actually be attracted to the cancer cells. It's one of the ways for them to find out by scans what's going on. Some of the anti-cancer foods, and I don't even like the word anti-cancer because you can't say, oh, I eat blueberries and raspberries, so I'm not going to get cancer. That's not the truth. But these foods with high antioxidant properties, these things, the things that have more color to it, are actually brilliant, because it's like before we had knowledge and before we actually started reading books, like we were basing our lives and our survival on innate intelligence, this inborn intelligence, like in our instincts, right? And so, well, God made the best foods with highest colors because trying to attract us to these foods when we were gatherers and hunters, that we would actually go and we'd find these good foods, put them in our bodies so our bodies could actually go through healing processes. So these high antioxidant foods, they provide food for our body, provide nutrients for our body to be able to battle toxicities and everything else that goes along with it. Cold water wild caught fish, these things are high in omega-3s, fatty acids. You need this to slow down cancer growth. It promotes cancer cell deaths. It's more about this food, this wild caught fish. They have high omegas, high fatty acids. And what it does is actually lets the cells become stronger and healthier. Again, we don't eat colorful foods and we don't eat wild caught fish because we're trying to cure cancer. You eat these things because you're trying to get your body to function at the highest level. Again, antioxidant rich foods, things like berries and broccoli and spinach and pumpkin. And these antioxidants are there to help repair DNA damage and slow down cancer growth. Just like spices, certain spices, things like turmeric. You know, these things, it's an orange spice and Asian Indian dishes. And it's actually more than a spice. It actually has some cancer fighting properties, meaning that it decreases some inflammation and decreases antioxidants. It's an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties within inside the body. These things are good. And so use it as a spice for your food or take it as a supplement. Citrus foods, these are great. They help neutralize free radicals in our body, things that are toxic in our bodies that our body can't neutralize itself. Vitamin C seems to help that. And so again, we don't take these things because we're trying to fool the body or treat the body. Just like sunlight and vitamin D, you don't take sunlight and vitamin D because when you get COVID, right? You don't take the stuff when you get the flu. You don't take the stuff because when you get cancer. You take the stuff because your body you want your body to have the raw materials that it needs to be able to fight for itself. So I show you guys all these vitamins, these supplements, these foods. If you want a deeper dive on this, just see the front desk or message me directly and say, hey, I want to know more about the advanced plan or core plan, the max living food plans. We'll help you with this stuff. We'll help you with the nutrition aspects of these things as well. So if you're here in Charlotte, great, come on in. We'll help you out. If you're outside of Charlotte and you're happen to be listening to this, we'll find a way. You just text me, email me, find a way, reply to this message of where you found this, and we'll find the way to get this to you in your hands. Okay. So couple things, detoxing your body for your home and your body itself. You've got to understand that we're exposed to more toxins than we ever have in our whole life. They're everywhere. They're in the homes that we are in. Our homes aren't able to breathe like they used to. They build these things tighter and tighter. There's cleaning products. There's chemicals in everything, even the products that our homes are made of. There's carcinogens. These are things that are chemicals that expose you getting cancer. It gives you a higher chance of getting cancers. My buddy Chuck lived in 3 new houses in 6 years, probably full of carcinogens, plus had a past history of chemicals going to his body when he was in college. Took some steroids, did some other things. And it's just kind of like, this is what happens if you overload the body with carcinogens. The body has to start to adapt and start to fix itself. Well, carcinogens are probably banned though, right? If it's bad for our bodies, they should be banned, right? No, they're not. They're not banned. Basically, things like cigarette smoke, not even banned. BPAs and plastics, processed meats, formaldehydes, these are all carcinogens. But yet they're allowed to still be in our food source. Why? Because it's their people that they have lobbying, the FDA and everything else is stronger than yours. That's why, they even try to downplay the fact that people want to eat free range, farm to table type food. They downplay that. Oh, that's unnecessary. That's why you have Bill Gates saying that, oh, we're going to process all these things. We're going to create this fake meat and these fake products and all this stuff. And so these things make people massive amounts of money and give them massive amounts of control, but they actually create more cancer and more problems with inside of our body. So this is very interesting. Actually, if you guys don't know the story on glyphosate, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here because this is a for example or one instance. Glyphosate is one of the major chemicals that was in Roundup. They found out, I think it was in the 50s, they used to use it as a liner for tanks, underground tanks. And what happened is they found out that when they sprayed it accidentally, I think on a grass or yard. And they found out that everything that it touched died. So they found out that this glyphosate chemical would kill. They found out they could use it as a nice herbicide. Well, what started happening is, and this happened actually, I had front seat to this because I grew up in a farm area of Iowa. One of my first jobs as a teenager was using that, using a wand that you would spray or wash a car at a car wash. I would sit. There was 4 of us that would sit on the front of a tractor. They had a bar with seats in it, and we would sit on this thing, and we would actually ride down the bean and the corn when it was early, when it was young, and we would spray the weeds out of there. And the farmer told us that if you spray this on anything green, it will die. So only get it on the weeds. Otherwise, you're costing me money. Well, of course, as a stupid teenage kid, when we're turning the corners, we were spraying on each other's feet and each other's faces because we thought it was funny. And I can't even imagine how much chemical toxic exposure I've had to glyphosate, obviously, because of those years for a long time. The crazy thing about it is that in the early 90s, they started realizing, wow, there's certain bacterias that are resistant, that you can actually put hybrid corn and beans. So they call it Roundup resistant corn and soybeans. And so what they found is that if they could start to quote unquote breed or hybrid these things, that way they could have this bacteria inside the corn, inside the beans, they could spray the Roundup on it way later. That would cost a fraction of the cost. They didn't have to hire these people to go spray the weeds out on a regular basis. They could put just 1 dose of it at the end or close to the end of harvest time. And the same thing with wheat. They would use it as to dry weed out as well. Well, what happens is now this glyphosate, this active ingredient of glyphosate ends up in our food source more than it used to. So even in the 80s, when I was riding the tractors and doing these things, that glyphosate wasn't even as big a problem. But really in the 89, 90, 91 area, that's when you started seeing all these rates of people with digestive issues and gluten intolerances and all these things. And if you want to hear a great example of this, Joe Rogan's podcast with Robert Kennedy Jr., he talks about this because he was one of the major lawyers in the suing against Monsanto and about glyphosate and Roundup. And so then they've won many, many cases. So he understands the science behind this massively. But I say all this to say this is that glyphosate's used in like 100 different food crops. It's everywhere. This is just one example of a massive chemical that we're being exposed to on a regular basis. And so how do these carcinogens affect the body? Well, when we're exposed to these carcinogens, They damage our DNA. They disrupt our normal way our cells work, and potentially they lead to development of cancer because our body can't adapt to it anymore. And the body has to try to protect itself. And by protecting itself, it starts to shut down or creates these cancer cells that are supposed to die off. That's how the body actually goes through it. They create sick cells, which are cancer cells, and the sick cancer cells are supposed to die off. It's when we're even inundated further with the inability to be able to heal that these cancer cells don't die off and they start to split into more cancer cells is a bigger issue. The carcinogens, they're everywhere. It's our cleaning products. It's in our environment, processed foods. It's in our sprays for plants. It's in our water source. It's everywhere. You can't get away from it. I love this, ewg.org. This is, if you need to pause this, go look the stuff up, take your phone, scan these QR codes. These are a good place to start. You can't just all of a sudden today say, I'm never going to be around any chemicals ever again. It's kind of hard to be able to go through that. It really is. So, so what happens is you have to start to realize is that I need to just start making baby steps along the way. Just like little baby steps along the way of getting better and getting better and getting better. So these are a couple things. If you start to see like, wow, I'm about ready to run out of this cleaning supply. Well, what could I go get instead? What would be something better for me to get? What about makeup, cosmetics? What about deodorant, stuff like that? Go ahead and scan these and start to look at ewg.org. They are great. They should pay me because I send so many people to them because I think it's so important. The third factor to help your body become battle ready, de-stress, sleep, and aligning your spine. These things are crucial, important pieces of the puzzle. 77% of people report that stress affects their health. I mean, I don't know how they did that. I would think everybody would understand that stress probably affects their health. It shows that we need to address it. It's funny when I start to say, oh, I don't know what's happening. I don't know. What happens is, but what happens is when we have stress, and this is fascinating to me, is that when I ask a room and I tell them that the body is exposed to stress, and I'm like, nobody in this room probably has stress. Everybody rolls their eyes. Everybody has stress these days. We have all this technology. We have all these amenities, and yet we have more stress than ever before because we still are human beings, right? Here's the top 3 areas of stress that come to us. Number 1 is news and current events. One study found that 65% of Americans are stressed out from the current state of our nation. Like over half of Americans are always stressed out. Like news and current events, like you guys just need to get off this stuff. Like you have to, I know we've always been told when we were kids that you have to be informed and everything. I get it. I mean, I was told that too, but the reality is that what we are consuming now is not news compared to where it was when we were kids. It's not the same. This is propaganda machine. It's heavy censorship from the truth. If you guys paid attention for the last 3 years, it's ridiculous. And so a perfect example of this, I was at a friend's 30th wedding anniversary party at their house. And it was during election between Biden and Trump. And it's fascinating because inside they had Fox News on and outside they had CNN on. And you guys know that those two news stations are absolutely radically opposed to each other. And you would think if you're sitting inside and if you're outside watching CNN on the porch, in the screened-in porch, and you're watching this thing and you're watching this election, what do you think CNN is reporting? Who do you think CNN is reporting is going to be the next president as it gets later and later in the night? Before that night, I would have thought that they would have been promoting that Joe Biden's going to win. But the reality is that CNN was predicting that Trump was going to win late into the night, actually. And the people that were left-leaning that usually watch CNN, that infuriates them. That pisses them off. That creates more stress inside their body. And guess what? They want to watch more. They found that if I remember when Howard Stern came out on the radio and they kept doing research about like the people that hate Howard Stern listen to him twice as long as the people that liked him. Because that hate, that emotion, that stress, it just is addicting and it gets driving us in. And then you went inside to the Fox News station at the same party And guess what Fox News is saying? They're saying that Joe Biden's going to win. And I'm just like, whoa, here it is. This news, my pastor says this, the news is not there to inform us anymore. The news is there to inflame us, to create stress in our life. Social media, this is the constant comparison factor, fear, pressure, advertising. They're reading your mail. They hear you speaking, all this stuff. Self-doubt, inadequacy. I'm a bad mom. I'm not as good a mom. My kids don't post for pictures like this. It's all this stuff. And you're always having to be on. You're always engaged with something. So at some point in time, you've got to take and pull yourself back from this. Work and occupation, again, you got to love what you do. Find a place that you love what you do. In our office, I try to make sure that our team has a great culture to live in and that they love what we do and that it's not just a job to get paid in. It's actually a mission, something bigger for ourselves. Some of you guys might not be in a position where you can have a job like that yet, but maybe it's something that you start to work towards, or you start to change the way that you think about it. Like, right. So like if I'm working at a chiropractor's office and like I do, and if it's just about helping people with back pain, like I'm pushing on backs just to help people have less back pain. Like that's not as fulfilling as what we do in our office, where we want to remove the interference out of your nerve system. So your body, yes, the back pain goes away, but we want your whole body to function better. And we want you to be a better dad, a better mom, a better sister, a better brother, a better wife, a better husband, right? We want you to be better coworker. Why? Because we look at it differently. So from a work occupation standpoint, is that you have to find out how to decrease your stress and start to love what you do along the way. Stress and cancer risks. Stress can enhance the risk of certain cancers various ways. What it does is it weakens your immune system. It hinders the ability to be able to heal itself. It also hinders the ability for the body to eliminate and find abnormal cells inside the body too. And so stress can also impact the DNA repair process, slowing it down. And so then what happens is it puts more and more stress. It's kind of like this snowball effect. It just creates more and more stress. 1 in 3 people don't get enough sleep. They say 7 to 9 hours. But the reality is that everybody needs different sleep patterns and everybody has different stuff. Like I said, we're going to do a sleep class coming up. So probably more than likely a good rule to kind of go by is no devices right before you go to sleep, because it affects your brain and your melatonin levels. And but also then on top of that, you have to also think about going to bed at the same time every night, waking up every morning at the same time. Those things are consistent. They help you out tremendously. And so those are massive things to help you go on the right pathway along the way too. Sleep is super, super massively important, obviously. Total of sleep deprivation, like I said, what happens is if you don't get enough sleep, your body can't heal. There's a whole cleansing process that happens to the hormones inside your brain that allow your body to actually go through the healing process that it needs to. So sleep is a massive piece of healing factor for your body from the inside. Focus on peace management. We talk about, it used to be like 10, 20 years ago, used to be stress management. It's about peace management. It's about finding peace in your world. And so for me, what creates peace for me is when I have my planner completely set for the next day and I know what's going to happen, what I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it. I lay out my workout clothes. I lay out my work clothes. I just massively prepared for the next day. Helps bring so much peace for me. Being organized, being scheduled is so helpful for me too, from a standpoint of peace management. I don't focus on stress. I focus on how do I create more peace in my life? How do I do things that I love to do? How do I do those things when I love to do them? I create peace in my life. Exercise is massive for immune system. You have to move. If you're not moving, your body's not able to actually go through its healing process like it's supposed to. And so this is one of the slides I really like here. That's great. It talks about how there's about 1 in 5 people, adults, made the physical activity guidelines. Only 1 in 5, only 20%. See, people are so inactive. We're moving less and less. Kids are moving less and less. And less than 3 in 10 high school students get consistent exercise. So childhood obesity is going through the roof. All these are pieces of the puzzle. Why our cancer rates are going up? Because again, we're focusing on the wrong things. We're not going down the right pathway. We need to get back on the right pathway. max T3 workouts, short workouts, 12-minute workouts. If you do 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, and you work out hard, it'll actually work brilliantly for you. And it'll help balance out your hormones the way that it's supposed to be. And so the reality is that you have to have motion. You have to have workouts. Workouts are good. You have to have movement, whatever that is. I don't care if it's in a pool, whatever it is. But when you work out, you want to try to get sweating and breathing heavy. Those are keys for detoxing the body. This one here, cancer killing research. And this is Masha and Dasha. And so in our country, we believe in this thing called the germ theory that Louis Pasteur trumpeted about 150 years ago, 100 plus years ago. And basically, modern medicine is based on this. And it says that if you get a virus or a bacteria, you should get sick. If you should have cancer cells throughout your whole blood, because the blood is where these things are at. And what's crazy about these two girls is that they had 4 kidneys, only 1 bladder. They shared 1 reproductive system. They had the same circulatory system, so it's interconnected. The blood was in both parts of the body and went between each other. But the twins had their own central nerve system. The fascinating thing about the research that they did on these girls is that they had the same blood, but they did not get the same illnesses. One of them got measles, one of them didn't. One of them got the flu, one of them didn't. One of them was a smoker, one of them wasn't. One of them had alcohol, one of them wasn't. One of them had high blood pressure, the other one didn't. So what that starts to help you understand is that it's not about the blood and the germs and the viruses. It's about the immune system, the adaptability of the body, which comes from the nerve system. So if you're a patient in this office, or if you're somebody that's looking and been to a chiropractor before, the nerve system controls everything. Brain and spinal cord controls everything in the body. For you to hear me, for you to see me, for your heart to beat, for your lungs to breathe, for a cut to heal on your leg, for cancer cells to be recognized and gotten rid of outside of your body, the brain sends messages down through the organ cells and tissues, and the body is able to control or function. While B.J. Palmer used this quote, while other professions are concerned with changing the environment to suit the weakened body, chiropractic is concerned with strengthening the body to suit the environment. So we're constantly trying to remove interference and allow the body to adapt to its environment. That's the crucial key to where health and healing actually come from. Subluxation in the spine, though, when people are inundated with more and more stress, just like the calluses on the hand when you lift weights or when you rake your yard, they're stressed. When there's stress, the spine actually tries to adapt. And when it can't adapt anymore, it will do what's called a subluxation, where the spine will actually move out of its normal alignment. It's kind of like a circuit breaker. If we plug a bunch of different hair dryers into this wall right here where my computer's plugged into, eventually we're going to overload that circuit, and the circuit breaker is going to shut completely off. Where it's not desired for me in this circuit, it's desired for the whole, though. It shuts down because it's trying to protect itself from a bigger injury to the rest of the whole house, which means a whole house fire, right? Our bodies do the same thing. When you have a subluxation, the spine will shift out of its alignment because it's over inundated with too much stress that it can't adapt to. And it tries to remove that stress by shifting out of its alignment. But then it also has side effects to it, though, that messages can no longer get through there like they used to get through. They still get through some, but not like they used to. So think of it like a circuit breaker. The circuit breaker breaks to protect the whole house, but now what's the downfall? You don't have electricity going through that wall. Same thing. The subluxation happens. It's to protect the whole body from actually having shutdowns, to protect itself. But then what happens? You have a side effect of that. And that's the brain's not able to communicate to the body the way it's supposed to. And so the brain communicating to the body the way it's supposed to, that's a key component, a key factor for what we're trying to do when the body comes in. So how do you find out if you have a subluxation? Well, see a chiropractor that looks for subluxation. Majority of chiropractors don't look for subluxations. Majority of chiropractors look for where's your aches and pains and how do I treat your aches and pains. In chiropractic school, that's what they basically teach us. Heat, ice, massage, chiropractic adjustments, push on the area. And basically it's about treating your symptoms, just like medically, but without medicine. And so what you want to do is you want to find yourself a chiropractor that looks and locates the actual stress or pressures that are coming into your body that are creating the subluxations. Remove the subluxations. Yes, if you have neck pain, if you have back pain, if you have digestive problems, if you have acid reflux, if you have depression, anxiety, if you have cancers, heart disease, diabetes, all these things are factors or signals that it's trying to tell you that your body has something bigger. And I want those symptoms to go away for you. I really do. But the reality is that I don't want the symptoms just to go away temporarily. what we want to do is address where's that stress, what's causing the subluxation to happen inside your body. How do we remove that stress, and how do we allow your body to start to function the way that God designed it? And that's where the body's able to start to go through its healing process. The warning signs, like I said, acid reflux, digestive issues, hormone issues, sleep issues, neck pain, back pain, digestive problems, headaches. These are all the symptoms that you have. Any symptom in your body is basically a warning signal. It's your body trying to let you know something's just not functioning, not working the way it is. I love this quote. It's kind of a version of the other quote they have. Medicine is the study of disease and what causes man to die. Chiropractic is the study of health and what causes man to live. So as a recap for you guys and the action steps that you have from listening and watching this class, if you're a patient in our office, I want you to make sure that you're committing to your adjustment schedule that you have. Number one. Number two, do your home stretches and exercises like you're supposed to. It'll help the nervous system raise its game higher and higher. Get on some kind of food plan. If you're in a desperate need to get over and heal something that's massive in your body, it's time to get super strict. Some of you guys need to get super strict to go through a detoxing pathway. So get on track with your nerve system. Number two, get on track with your nutrition, your exercise. Start to look at where we can get some toxicities outside of your body and start to get on a pathway where you can start to sleep better. Now, here's where your other action steps are. If all these things, you're doing these things at a high level and you still have massive issues, thyroid issues, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, you have something that you're really wrestling with, you might need deeper testing. And we do that. Most people don't understand that we do that in our office, but we do it because we do it for a few people. We just don't do it for a ton of people. We want to make sure that we work on all the basics first, because the testing and the nutrition supplements are secondary if the body's nervous system's not working. So if you need deeper testing, we have what's called metabolics. It's blood and urine testing. It will find out if you have deficiencies in certain vitamins and certain areas of your body that just aren't functioning the way that's supposed to. That's outside of your nerve system. And so we do that testing. If you want more information about that, see the front desk as well. My last thing I'm going to ask of you guys as well is that the reason why you're listening and watching this is more likely probably because somebody told you about us. And I'm constantly telling people, I'm like, listen, we have so many people that are friends and family members of ours that are on their knees tonight praying to God that somebody can help them, but they think that their help is going to come in the form of a pill bottle or a drug. And the reality is that no healing comes from outside. It comes only from the inside. So love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Hope this was great for you guys. And I did a brief 1 hour of a 3-hour class, but hopefully you guys get the details. If you need or have questions, feel free to ask me. If you have friends or family members, you want us to come out to your church to do a talk about how God designed the body. If you want us to come out to place of work and talk about how you can increase productivity and decrease sick days, we also do that as well. So love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Have a blessed day.